all the shooters and reloaders out there. Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the hot leg zone. And listen to that wind and rainstorm. It's going to be bad weather all weekend. So you see the wind is let up a little bit, but it's been raining steadily now for 24 hours. And the forecast is rain all weekend, but we can only hope for a break in the weather. But that doesn't mean we can't do some reloading, so let's do some of that. Well, let me say hi to my grandson Mel and also grandson Kai. Now Kai is going to be 6 real soon. Birthday is coming up quick. So hi to you guys. So shooters and reloaders, we're going to load the 458 Winchester Magnum. We're going to use this RCBS die set. And look at the nice finishing on those dies. The nice steel lock rings. And whenever I get RCBS die sets, I'm always concerned about the decapping pin because they got a habit of breaking the decapping pin. So I always get extra decapping pins from RCBS. Make sure I have those on hand. Interestingly, the Lee design with the integral decapping pin and the collet release, I've never broken a decapping pin with Lee dies. But I have with RCBS for sure. Is that a big issue? No, not when you have spare decapping pins. And I have the Allen wrench that I added to the set because they don't include one, and they don't also include a shell holder, but the Lee shell holder works real well, so I just throw a Lee shell holder into this box and I'm all set. Now, because the 458 Win Mag is a straight wall case, you don't have an expander as part of the sizer die. It sizes and decaps, and then it uses a separate die to expand the neck. And this one has a expander that's very similar to the Lyman M die to do that. Then we have the bullet seater and crimper, but I've got a Lee factory crimp die on order coming in soon. But we could go ahead and load with this die set. We're going to be using the MEC Marksman press to do this job. And for those of you who are wondering, the primer catching tray is the same one that's used on the shot shell presses. Here's my old one with my MEC 600 Junior, and it fits this perfectly. For components, we're using the good Hornady brass. Notice the annealing there. A little over $1 a case, but that's about the going fare. Now, there's no need to run these through the resizer die because they're already sized. What we will need to do, though, is to run these through the neck expander to true the necks up and get the mouth flared for the seating of the bullets. For bullets, we're going to load the Lee 340 grain cast flat nose bullet, and it's also powder coated and lubed with the Molly lube that we had. But also we're going to do the powder coated NOE 459 500 grain hard cast bullet with the grooveless design, and it's powder coated with the Eastwood Aqua Blue. Now, interestingly, when we size these bullets in our RCBS Lubematic 2 using a Lyman 458 sizing die, these bullets sized and mic out at 458 after sizing. So you see, I just grabbed one of those bullets out of that box and you get 458. But when we go ahead and run these bullets that are 462 diameter through that same sizing die, they wind up at 459. That's it. When you take one of these rascals out of here and mic this one, you get 459. How do you get 459 with these bullets and 458 with those? Well, one of the reasons is This is cast much softer than that. Now for loading data, we're going to use information from the Lyman Cast Bullet Handbook back from the 1970s edition, because it has loads there using unique and 2400 powder. The idea is we want to load some subsonic loads or loads that are transonic, so that we'll get a nice light loading for people that will be taking to the range and shooting for the first time, the 4.58 Win Mag. And also we're going to be using those lighter loads to blow out some of these cases so that we can use that brass to determine the exact overall cartridge length to touch the lens. Now that information may not be completely useful because we can't use that length anyway, but it'll be good to know. Normally we don't need to lubricate the inside of necks on straight wall cases, but because we're doing this 4.58 Win Mag, I went ahead and used my mica neck expanding inside lubricator. What this has is mica, and you go ahead and select the proper brush and then put some mica on the brush and then run the case necks over the brush, and you see the mica in there. Now if you have a hard time locating mica, the BPI wad lube is mica and can be used nicely for this application. So it's really simple. We put the die all the way down till it touches the shell holder, and then it's a matter of putting the stem down until you get the expansion, and then when you start getting the mouth flare part, then you just adjust it until you get the amount of flare to let the bullet go in, and you're all set. You tighten up this adjustment here and then run all your cases through. Now notice that the die body, when it goes all the way down to touch a shell holder, and then the die stem to get the proper amount of flare, and the way the die fits into the press, you got a good balance and a well-engineered. Well, I thought I'd go ahead and test it both ways for you, so I went ahead and expanded all of these with the mica, and you see there's the fit of the bullets into the case mouths nicely. And then I did these without the mica, and it felt the same, it performed the same in the expansion. There wasn't any problem without the mica, and you see the same end result happened. There's no problem, so you really don't need to do the mica after all. So straight wall cases don't need inside neck lubrication. There's a reason for that, but it needs a separate video to bring that out. Now, kind of a minor frustration, but in that box of 50, there were only 49 cases, so got shorted one. But in the final analysis, it's not that big a deal. Now, of course, we want to use our RCBS Case Prep Center to go ahead and deburr and chamfer our case mouth, plus uniform the primer pockets. Like so. To show you another one of those. Like so. And now one more, because this one's number 49. And that's it. So you see the amount of brass that came out of 49 cases to get them uniform, and the mouth deburring and chamfering is very important to do, helps in bullet seating, and of course the primer pockets uniform will help in uniform primer seating and ignition. So there we go, 49 cases ready to go ahead and prime. So now our RCBS bench prime tool has the proper shell holder in there for the 4.58 Win Mag. We have Remington large rifle primers loaded into the tube, and so now here we go. Go ahead and put a primer into the cup, gonna case, prime it. Primer in the cup, case goes in, prime it. So primer goes into the cup, case goes in, prime it. Get a good rhythm going with this tool, and every one of them is... So you see it's just under the case head, perfectly primed. No damage to the primer at all. So you see we've got all the cases primed. Now we're using the Hornady automatic powder dispenser to dispense 16 grains of unique powder. And it'll work for both bullets because one is subsonic and the other one's a little more in velocity. We'll go ahead and charge them all. I verified the 16.0 against my RCBS scale, balance beam scale. They agree. And there we go, another one. Okay, and we use a flashlight to verify the powder level in all 24 of these, and there were no overcharges from the Hornady automatic powder dispenser. 100% performance. Now what I have here is fiber fill cut into 1 1/2 inch squares, and those will be tucked into these cases because what you have here is a voluminous case and only a powder charge that is way down there. So this will be good to hold that powder against the primer. So to show you, just place one of the squares over the case and just push it in. With any instrument will do. Just tuck it in. Like so. We're good. We lightly tamp that in. It's not compressed, but you see there's plenty of room for a bullet. Now comes the problem. The RCBS cedar die has a stem that's a round nose stem. Well, that's reasonable, but it doesn't fit the 340 grain Lee, and it sure doesn't fit the NOE Spitzer bullet back there. So what do? Well, like the cavalry, here comes Lee Precision to the rescue. And what you do is you take a 4570 Lee die, cedar die, and you go ahead and put it into the MEC, and it has enough grab to go into the press and allow it to seat bullets for the 458 Win Mag. And the seating stem in there is a tapered seating stem that not only will fit the NOE, but also the Lee 340 round nose flat point. So you see, you take the Lee seating stem out, and you see what I mean? It's a kind of a Spitzer. It accommodates all kinds of bullets. And the tapered walls actually work for a lot of flat nose bullets too. So that's a good seating stem in the 4570. Good old Lee. Give you an idea, there's the NOE bullet seated. And so now all I gotta do is to crank this down and tighten the lock nut, and we've got the setting for the NOE 459 500 grain bullet. Now I know how some of you are thinking out there, because you might be wondering, can you use the Hornady FTX seating stem? And the answer is no, because this doggone thing is too long. It's so long that you can't get everything to bite together, and it won't fit in the longer RCBS die. You know what I mean? The RCBS seating stem, the round nose, won't work for the Spitzer bullet. We can sure use this RCBS seating die to crimp our rounds. There they are, folks, and the crimps are just perfect. Doesn't look like much of a crimp in there, but when you're crimping into BHN 22, that's a crimp. We've got a great formula for future loading. To the range we go. Bye for now.